My name's Stephen Baughier. I'm candidate for mayor of Warner Robins, Georgia. I, like many of you, have not been happy with the direction that the city is headed. And this year, we have a chance to make a change. So instead of sitting around talking about it, I have chosen to participate and try to be part of the solution. That's why I'm running for mayor. Warner Robins is a great city. I've lived here over 40 years, graduated high school here, returned here to make it home after serving in the military. I have a family here and a future here. And I want to see that future bright for myself, my family, and for all of you. So I'll do that in a few different ways. One is by treating people responsibly in every situation. And I will do that by incorporating responsibility in all dealings as mayor, whether it's dealing with department heads, city employees, citizens, or people and companies that we have contracts with. I will follow through with our city's commitments to contractors and to its people. I will also focus on revitalization of the forgotten areas of the city. We all know where those places are. Houston Road, North Davis, Watson between Houston and 247. Something needs to be done. Something can be done. And something will be done. If we do those things, we will attract more business and more economic activity to these areas, which will help citizens in all aspects. The third area that I will focus on is reinvestment. This means taking a hard look at the infrastructure that we currently have, invest in improving that and maintaining it, and making that a priority instead of expanding at every opportunity. The city has much infrastructure, and it needs to be maintained. I would also like to reinvest in our communities. Once we have open, safe, attractive community spaces in which we can gather, we can begin to bring the community together over shared interests such as food, culture, music, arts, a lot of things that we have in common. And that will go a long way to connect us. I won't always have all of the answers as your mayor, but I promise you this. I will always reach out to you for your input, to experts for their input, and I will serve from a humble position to ensure that the decisions that I make are the absolute best decisions that we can make for the entire city with the information at any given time. I would appreciate your vote and your support. Currently, early voting is in process between now and October 29th. Together, we can make Warner Robins better with Baughier. Thank you.
Welcome to the Soul Fresh podcast, where we speak truth to power with intentions to elevate your mind on a whole new way of thinking. Travel with us as we unpack these topics and issues and try to be as transparent as possible. I'm your host, BK.
And I'm your host, J. Steve.
Now let's get it. All right, welcome back to the Soul Fresh podcast. I'm your host, BK.
And I'm your host, J. Steve.
J. Steve, today, what do we got going on? I understand we've got another candidate here that's running for mayor of Warner Robins to continue our series on politics and community. This is part 3.
Right. And we have mayoral candidate Stephen Baughier joining the podcast with us this evening. So give it up for Mr. Stephen Baughier.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
And sitting down and having this conversation with us. First, we want to just basically go ahead and start off telling us a little bit about yourself. Who is Stephen Baughier?
Well, first, Stephen Baughier is a father of 2 children, a 15-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. I'm also a small business owner. I run personal finance retreats throughout the country. And in my past life, I've been a project controller for Northrop Grumman, which is a defense contractor here. I've also served in the Navy and in the Air Force Reserves. And my educational background, I have an accounting degree, bachelor's and master's.
Okay. We want to go ahead and get into that a little bit later because I'm actually interested in hearing about your Camp FI.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. Happy to talk about it.
And that's your financial freedom camp?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Financial freedom, financial independence. It's called a couple different things, but yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start off. Let's go back with the kids. Tell us about fatherhood as far as fatherhood and politics. How does that work with a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old? I know that's got to be... That's that attitude age, right? Where they get independent. I know everything. Tell us about that. How does that work?
Fatherhood is great. I'm lucky to have two great kids. I couldn't ask for better. Neither one yet has gotten to the attitude stage.
Okay, good.
So maybe they never will. Fingers crossed. Yeah. But no, it's good. It's good. They're very patient. Mm-hmm. They're getting much more independent now. They're getting older.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't really. They do a lot on their own now. They do their own laundry. Sometimes they can cook their own food. So like right now, I'm out here doing this interview. They're good. If they were a little bit younger, maybe it wouldn't be as smooth.
Right, I understand.
And a little bit more stress at the house. But no, they're good. They're responsible, and I'm just lucky to have two awesome kids.
Gotcha. And they understand the importance of what you're doing at this time as well.
They do, and it's really important for me too. As a parent, to see them or to have them see me doing things that I'm passionate about. We talked about Camp FI, or you mentioned Camp FI earlier. That was a passion project that I started without any kind of profit motive. But it turned a little bit of a profit, and it was popular enough, and so it turned into a business. I've always felt that if someone has the capacity or the desire to make tomorrow better, mm-hmm. Then they should. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor.
Right.
And they get to see me doing that. And they've seen me participate in the political process a little bit over the years. And I've even gotten them involved.
Okay.
They've come out with me and done the marches last year. And
that's good.
Right. And because, again, I'm just trying to set the example, for them.
Politically aware, socially aware. That's pretty good for that age.
Financially aware as well.
In this age group, this generation, with so much going on social media, the news is bringing a lot of them aware. So that is a good idea.
Right.
Yeah, getting younger people involved in type of politics. Because they can see it socially and they're more aware, I guess, than say when we were coming up. We really didn't focus on it that much. It's just what our parents were saying. Hey, we're voting for such and such this year. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Whatever Tina Hicks says. Just another question to bounce off that real quick. So you have a strong background in finance and how to make a budget work. How do you feel you can implement your experience when it comes to the financial side of the city?
Right. So in my experience as a project controller, a defense contractor, and military contracts, I've worked with large budgets. So the numbers don't intimidate me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'll get in there and I'll know exactly everything there is about the city budget, but I'm not going to be intimidated by it. And I'll know enough to know what I don't know. And so I'm not scared to involve experts, people who have a lot of experience, even within the city now,
right,
to get in there and help me really go through that budget and make sure that every tax dollar is being spent as efficiently and bringing as much value to the taxpayer and the citizens as possible.
Is that one of the things that some politicians are coming into the type of politic landscape that they don't respect or understand that there are people that are there already before them or that have more expertise in certain areas and you would like to use their help? Because some people tend to come in and say, well, I'm going to do it all by myself. I'm going to take it on as my own task. I appreciate you saying that you look to other people to help you with that. I was just asking, how do you feel about other politicians not doing that as well?
Oh, well, I'm not really going to speak about, other politicians, whether they do or don't do that sort of thing. But I will say that you can't be successful unless you're surrounding yourself with people who are as smart or smarter than you. Mm-hmm. No one knows everything.
Right.
And no one has all the experience to be able to pull from in every situation. So there's always going to be someone out there that knows a little more than you about any given situation. And I am not above reaching out for help.
Since he was asking a question about your financial background, go ahead and tell us about Camp FI.
All right. Camp FI is a personal finance retreat. It's usually about 50 to 60 people. They will just, they'll spend a weekend from Friday to Monday at it's a retreat center, but it's usually a place that operates as a summer camp during the summer for kids. But then they have these retreat centers, and they have unused capacity during the fall and winter and early spring. So that they do is they rent out space. And it's perfect for us because I want people to come in and be able to just pay one price, pay once for a ticket, and not be nickel and dime while they're there. So I'd like the location be able to provide lodging, food, recreation activities. It's really just like a summer camp. It's very informal, but what it is, it's a community builder. So, growing up, everybody uses money, right?
Yeah.
We all use money, but we don't like to talk about it with each other too much.
That's the problem. We mentioned that in the podcast one day about being more transparent and talking about money, having that conversation about money even with your children, and that's kind of what I'm doing now with my kids. We like to discuss money because it's one thing to say to a child, you better save your money. But I don't think you're doing them any justice if you're not saying, showing them how to save money,
right?
By example, and also by some type of institution like, certain camps or money programs or whatever. Of course, my wife and I, we've done the Dave Ramsey thing. We've looked into that. Of course, we've done the enveloping system. That was actually one of the great things when we got married. We did an enveloping system. So by the time we've got married, we didn't know anything after the wedding, and we had a pretty expensive wedding, but it was good though that we made all these envelopes, like here's the DJ, here's the catering, here's this, everything was paid for, here's the venue, did a particular type of saving plan.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey, that program's helped out a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good program. And the camp, what it is, it's probably not what people think about when you think of personal finance retreats or personal retreats or conferences or whatever. So it's, what people think about is probably people in ties. You have vendors out there selling their wares or their insurance products and investment products and things like that. That's not what this is. What this is, it's just a straight up informal community builder where at home, we might not want to talk about money with our family members, our coworkers. We can talk about all the other things that stress us out. And money is a stressor, but we don't want to talk about money because many of us make money mistakes.
Yeah.
And if we talk about money, one of those mistakes might come out.
Right.
But the thing is like that next person has probably made that mistake too. But we just don't want to talk about it. So something interesting happens whenever you get 50 to 60 people who aren't really connected. Not everyone's connected ahead of time. They can come from all over the country, down to Florida, or all over the country, down to Southern California or Virginia, any other places that we have these camps. They come from all over the place. They don't know each other. But whenever you get around people that you're not necessarily personally connected with, for some reason, it's a lot easier to open up and be vulnerable about your finances.
Yeah.
Because there's not some sort of judgment there.
Well, I think it also boils down to, I don't want nobody to know my business,
Oh, yeah.
Because when I leave here, I'm not going to see you anymore anyway.
Yeah. So
Right.
I'd be more inclined to tell a stranger versus to somebody I might bump into in the grocery store.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, so really what this is, it's just like there's a lot of people who go, and it could be at any phase. It's Camp FI. FI stands for Financial Independence. And this could go, people who go are people who could be $100,000 in debt, or people who go could be millionaire 5 times over. So it's people, no matter where you are on your financial independence journey, this is a community builder where those people at the different places on their journey can connect and share information. And that's all it is. It's a community builder. It's a knowledge sharing thing. No one's selling anyone anything. And it's just a place where you can let your guard down.
Gotcha.
So it's, like I said earlier, I did my first one as kind of an experiment, which to me, I kind of think of life as just one big experiment. Don't be scared to do anything. Just go out and do it. What's the worst that can happen? So I did it, and I created like a camp that I would want. So I was like, I'm interested in this subject or interested in that subject, whether it's credit card rewards, accounting, hacks, real estate, these types of things. So I went out and I reached out to experts in these fields, and I created a camp to talk about topics that I wanted to talk about because it might be my last camp. I didn't know if it was going to be successful or not. So I was like, if I'm going to do one, I might as well get something out of it. We had 38 to 40 people there. It was good. And that was January of 2017. And since then, I mean, just last weekend, I finished my 26th camp.
Wow.
And just
good.
that short, 4 years. So
Yeah, I think Steve had another question for you.
yeah.
No, I was enthralled in exactly what he was talking about. I'm sitting here forgetting everything. I just wanted to bring up a piggyback off the transparency part that BK brought up. It's very key to you. I saw that on the website as well. How transparent are you willing to be for the community? What transparency can you give them if people ask you, give it to me, Stephen. Tell me everything. How willing and open are you to be like that with the community?
Well, personally, I'm a fairly open person. But when it comes to the mayor position, I'm guessing, is that specifically what you're saying? Yes, I would, these buzzwords, every election, transparency, accountability, these types of things. And then what does that really mean?
Right.
To me, does it mean, as a citizen, I would not expect my leadership just to tell me every single thing that happens all throughout the day. But I would expect them to communicate with me openly about things that matter to me.
Right.
And matter to the city and to the future of the city. So what that means is within 90 days of taking office, I present a State of the City address.
Right.
I might not know enough to give that on day one, but the first 90 days after speaking with department heads, learning how the organizations work.
Community leaders.
Definitely talk to the community leaders, make sure that I know what it is that they're looking for and see where we are and what we can expect to be able to accomplish in 6 months, 1 year, 4 years, and lay that out within 90 days. At the end of 90 days, to me, that's where transparency and accountability start. Say, look, this is where we are. This is what we plan to do. And then expect the people of the city to hold me to it. And if I cannot follow through or make those things happen, or we aren't able to, check those boxes, then we expect to be held accountable and explain why we didn't. There could be a perfectly good reason why not.
Yeah.
They could, if we're ahead of schedule, behind schedule, on schedule, whatever, it's just, people understand fair. People understand things might not go as planned.
Especially when you communicate.
Right. But people don't want to be left in the dark.
Exactly.
And they don't want a reactive situation. They can say, well, we're reacting right now to leaking infrastructure, gas lines, water lines, right? And that's because, as I understand it, some things weren't reported up the chain, so they didn't know. And to me, someone dropped the ball there.
Right.
And so now the city's paying for it in fines, paying for it in negative headlines, paying for it in more importantly, unsafe situations where we have leaks.
Right.
That's a case of being reactive versus proactive. If we were more proactive, and I'm not saying that, any division and department is going to be perfect. But to me, it's situations like this, especially if they are ongoing and repeated situations. One-offs every now and then are understandable, but if it's a pattern, then that's a signal that we are being more reactive. We're not being proactive about the maintenance. We're not being proactive about the best way to go about providing services.
Right, because you can't see everything coming, but like you said, the patterns that exist.
Right.
Those need to be taken care of. And being a citizen of Warner Robins most of your life, what is one of the things you said to yourself that you wanted to change or make better if you were mayor?
Yeah, so over 40 years I've been here. I love Warner Robins. It's home. It's home. I've had opportunities to go elsewhere and I haven't. It's just home. Love the people here. Have a lot of roots here, a lot of history, and I don't want to leave that. So there are some things that I would like to see. I would like to see more community spaces. We don't have a central location or a couple different locations to where we can have outdoor concerts during the summer or spring, or fall. I mean, today was a beautiful day, right?
Right.
This would have been a perfect day or time of year to go and have a concert out in a amphitheater.
Right, yeah.
We don't really have that. we don't have place where people can just share time. Whether it's shopping, we have individual places all over that we can go, but it's not.
Warner Robins is a fickle town. I guess that's the word you can kind of put with it. That's the only word I can think of. I mean, it's changed a lot, but a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things have stayed the same. Kind of like the north side of town.
Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing if people are happy. You know what I mean? Like ultimately we want happy citizens. But it just seems like we're not as happy as we used to be, or I'm just growing up and there's more negative stuff coming out than maybe came out before, or just I was younger and not as tuned in.
Right.
Just for example, it's a small thing, and I think we're going to have an opportunity to take care of this in the next term, is recycling. I mean, that's a small thing, but we're the city that doesn't have recycling. Why? You know what I mean? Like we have so many other places that have recycling. Why does Warner Robins not have a recycling option?
I never really paid attention to that.
We don't have recycle bins. So what I do is I have a bin next to my door, and I've seen a lot of other people do this as well. And then they take it down to happy hour, which is a great recycling option. And even Centerville has city recycling where you can go and drop off. But that's one thing. I mean, it's just a small thing, but I believe that we're going to have an opportunity with the expiration of the current contract with the waste services company that hopefully we'll be able to incorporate recycling.
Okay.
And it's just a mindset, like why hasn't that happened sooner? Why haven't we just made that happen?
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd like to see is going back to being proactive is maintenance of highly visible spaces. We may not be able to take care of everything, but there should be some places that are always taken care of.
Oh yeah. So I guess that goes back to one of your platforms, revitalizing the city of Warner Robins.
Right. So you drive down Watson Boulevard from the intersection of Watson and Houston Road towards the base, and there are so many unkempt lots, so many signs where like the interior part of the sign is just not even there anymore. It's just like an empty square. You have, I wouldn't say abandoned, but just vacant buildings.
Dilapidated,
vacant buildings where they've painted weird colors. They just haven't been painted over. Paint's not expensive. That's low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Take a couple days to paint one of those buildings. Why hasn't it been done? How many thousands of people drive past these buildings every day, at least twice, and look at all of this sort of visual pollution?
And they're asking the same questions that you're asking, like, man, why won't somebody do something?
This is my city.
Which most importantly, what J. Steve brought up on the last podcast was, people from the base, our military people. These are people that are coming from other cities, other countries. And the first thing that you see when you're coming off the base is all the stuff that you just gave an example of.
Right. And you know where a lot of those people move or live? Not in the city of Warner Robins.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder why.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they see this.
Right. There's nothing to offer them.
Right. And there's as much as we like to, maybe we might not want to admit it, but if we see these types of things, then there are other things that are associated with it, whether it's reality or not. And it's a perception is very important. And so what sort of a perception are we giving when to whether it's family members who are coming to visit? I spoke with someone last week who said they have their family drive down I-75 and come down through Centerville so that they don't drive on the 247 side of Watson.
Wow.
We can do better. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is we can do better. Paint's not expensive.
Yeah.
Replacing a empty sign at a long standing vacant building with a positive message from the city. You care. Welcome to Warner Robins. Something. These are low cost things that would make a huge difference in just the experience of everyone driving down these roads. And it gives a sense that someone doesn't care. Someone doesn't care. Why are we not, going ahead and picking that low-hanging fruit to make a difference?
Now, we've had a few people come up to the podcast, and we've had conversations about that area that you said coming from North Houston Road on Watson, going down towards the base, which is considered the north side of town if you stay on the left side of Watson.
Right.
Everyone pretty much has said they would try and focus their attention to try and get that area lifted up some more and built up. Is that really a reality? Can it truly be done?
Improvements can be done. I'm confident that we can do that. Now, will we come in and will we talk a developer into coming and bulldozing all the buildings and putting up something nice and new? I don't know. You know, I don't know if that's even the best thing to do. But what I would say is there are incremental changes, incremental improvements. Like, what is the next thing that we can do to improve? Okay, we did that. What is the next thing that we can do? We can start from the ground up. We don't have to build some big structure, big brand new shiny things. There's a lot of cost associated with that. And to talk a business into coming into town and doing that, you know, that's probably a tall order. But it's going to be a much easier order if we can kind of meet them in the middle and start doing some things that we know we can do to make these areas of town more attractive for businesses to come in and put down their roots.
Right. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit to something a little bit more present.
Okay.
So, of course, for about 2 years, we've been navigating through this space of uncertainty with COVID. What is your opinion on how COVID-19 situation has been handled in the city?
Real talk.
Real talk?
Real talk.
All right. I might get in trouble for saying this, but
Keep it real.
we didn't hear from leadership, or I didn't. And I would guess I'm as tuned in or more than a lot of people in the city. We had an invisible mayor, you know,
Yep.
it was just invisible. We didn't hear anything. It was just, and again, that proactive versus reactive. And, you know, you saw that not just here, but nationwide.
Right.
Certain people, when they wanted to be proactive, they kind of got criticized.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, in Atlanta, some other places, some other mayors tried to step out and say, you know, I want to do this with our city.
I want to do something
You know,
about it.
I want to do something different. I want to, kind of take that extra step.
Right.
And unfortunately, the whole thing became politicized. And so maybe some leaders were scared to step up because it might hurt them with their parties on either direction, on either side, no matter, you know, depending on how they felt about it. But I do think that if I remember right, leadership at the time, even when we weren't sure really about the total impact that this was going to have, it was early on last year. I remember seeing, I mean, we knew that there were risks, and we just kind of weren't sure maybe at the size of the impact it was going to have. But I remember seeing social media posts of encouraging people to get out and support small businesses, which is great. But the picture that supported that was saying that was of leadership unmasked inside a building around other people who are also unmasked. What kind of message were you giving people?
Right.
You know, and I'm not saying at the time, again, we've gotten a lot of new information since then, but why not err on the side of caution? You know, what kind of message are you giving people?
Right. I guess at the end of the day, the most important thing is still to protect your citizens.
Right.
So where do you think that pressure is coming from? Just like the superintendent of Houston County, that's just my opinion. I feel like he was getting a lot of pressure from the anti-vaxxers and the anti-COVID individuals and the citizens. Like, so therefore, every time he was getting pressured and getting beat up on social media, then he would kind of lean to a certain side instead of kind of being neutral and making good, logical decisions as far as what's best for the students of Houston County. So where do you think the pressure is coming from on the city government side?
Politics.
Yeah.
You know,
Pretty much.
it's just politics. Like I said, it became a political thing instead of a public health thing.
Right.
And that's just unfortunate.
Yeah, and we're
You know,
still
it really
dealing
was.
with it. It's still
We're still dealing with it.
Highest number, Rona Robbins, one of the highest numbers of cases of COVID, you know, still going back to that.
And currently, right now, we're in October, so the numbers are going down, but that doesn't really mean anything because the numbers match the numbers from last year, last October. So we had a dip, then it went back up, you know, but like I said, I'm not going to
Hopefully they won't go back up this time.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
hopefully this is a different situation. I think masks have in recent months. I wore my mask out today to go bowling. When it was just me and my family together, we had our masks off. But, when we were around other people, then we would take them, put them back on. But, it's just caution. Like, it doesn't hurt anybody.
How do you feel about the mandates that are in some cities?
Well, I think leadership has their responsibilities. I mean, I understand people feel strongly on both sides. You know what I mean? This is a very polarizing conversation we're having right now. And I know you guys can appreciate, the sensitivity of the issue.
Oh, yeah.
But what I will say is I wish we could have just erred on the side of caution from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the environment was what it was politically. And it's obvious now, kind of to me anyway, and hopefully to more people, that things could have been better. Things could have been, that many people didn't have to die. Over what? Why? Why? Because somebody didn't want to wear a mask?
Right.
Like, we wear shirts. We wear shoes.
Yep.
No shoes, no shirt, no service.
That's what it's always said.
Like,
I've been seeing that sign as long as I've been living.
Yeah. But, there's a lot of other things too. So I just wish we had just listened to the experts from the beginning. I don't know. This is uncomfortable to talk about because we're way past it. We're way past the point. We can't do anything about it now or, about everything that's happened. That's the past. But moving forward, I'll tell you, if I was the mayor at that time, I would not have been invisible. I will tell you that. I would have said that I would have encouraged people to wear masks because what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong and people die because of a decision that you didn't make or because of something you didn't say or because of a post that you put on that made people think that it was okay to be around other people whenever we're spreading a pandemic to each other, or spreading a virus to each other.
Right.
I don't know.
I get it. Because if we keep going, we'll end up down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, we will. Because it'll keep going further because I got 30 questions in my mind. I just don't, want to keep what they say, beating a dead horse,
right?
As they say.
Right. And, this goes back to what I said earlier. I'm not going to know everything. For me to get up there and say I know something about like viruses and how they're spread and all that. No, I'm going to have somebody who knows that tell me the best way to move forward.
Right.
They're the expert. I'm not the expert. And that's what people would have elected me to do. Make the best decisions with the information that we have at the time.
Yeah. And touching on that. So I heard you speak one time and you said one of your main focus will always be what is best for Warner Robins.
Right.
Can you go a little bit deeper with that statement?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll say that we're all people, right? We're all humans. We all want the same things. We want safety. We want to feel valued. We want to feel cared for. We want to feel secure. We want to feel hope that tomorrow can be better than today if today was bad. That's all we want. What I mean when I say that I will make decisions that's in the best interest of Warner Robins, I mean all of Warner Robins. I have nothing against the south side of Warner Robins. I have nothing against the north side of Warner Robins. I have friends all over the city. I have support from all over the city. Once you go down the road of, like, even just saying north side and south side of Warner Robins, that's a division, right?
Right, it is.
You say, I know it's fun, but we got north side, we got Warner Robins. That's a division. We got white, we got black, division. Guy, girl, division. Poor, rich, division.
Country divided.
Country divided, city divided.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
Which makes neighborhoods divided. And then it goes further and further to that little small, minute, and that's where all the fracturing starts.
If we can keep going too, vaxxers.
Anti-vax.
Back at this thing again, right?
That's another reality too.
Yes, it's just another reality of we can keep going down this rabbit hole of how divided we are. And it's kind of scary when you really see, it's just a lot of division. Now we have this sexuality thing, is straight versus gay,
right?
Trans versus queer. It just keeps going.
Yeah, and maybe that's because the powers that be understand, whether it's corporate America, media, politicians, whatever it is, they know that we as people are kind of tribal, right?
Yeah.
So we want to naturally identify, be part of a group. And it's also profitable. Like your shop here, my guess is you have Princess up on up on the wall, and it doesn't look like you cater to boys, right?
No.
Right. So it's a division. So it's we have niches, right? And it can be profitable, and it's not all bad. Mm-hmm. But what it is bad is whenever it turns just large groups of people against each other. And because you've built a tribe based on X, it allows you to sort of have this built-in audience that says you're part of this group. So you can't be part of this group and you can't be part of that group because it's us versus them. Even with politics, I mean, most people are moderate. Like a lot of people tend to be, like even Republicans and Democrats, you know. I mean, this is nonpartisan race, of course, but Republicans and Democrats. A lot of people will say I'm fiscally responsible, or fiscally conservative, but, you know, socially liberal, you know, that type of thing. So that's a lot of people feel that way. We've become so quick to demonize anybody different than us, so that it makes us kind of scared in a way to speak out.
Oh, yeah. Get canceled.
Quick.
There you go. That's it.
Cancel culture.
There we go again. With that's another big topic. Cancel culture, ridiculous.
PC, you know.
Right.
It's and we're in scary times because you can't speak out, you can't be opinionated. You know, social media, it's got to be tricky. Mm-hmm. I have to be responsible with some of the things I say because I work for a large corporate company. So, you know, times, you know, we're living this time, you get canceled or you get fired or you know, you just might get called into the office on the chopping block. So you just got to be careful. And then that kind of really feels like you're making people like puppets, controlling, you know, the volume of their voice.
And then also you got to remember this, BK. You have those people that are in the background that's been saying things for years, not out in the public, and then that darkness comes to light. You know, speaking like John Gruden. Yeah. You know, that was just, who knew? 10 years of just vitriol. Which I don't understand that. Every time this happens, I'm like, who? I don't never sit here and just say crazy stuff in emails and I'm finna send this email. But the thing is, especially when people do it on their work computers. But you got to think about it. If you're speaking that type of language to one person, that person 9 times out of 10 is speaking that same language back to you and to that other person. So it's not just on that one person. There are other people that are involved, but he just happened to be the scapegoat. I will say that. He ended up being the scapegoat, even though he's still I consider, quote-unquote, bad person. But you got 650,000 emails, so how many other people are there out there that's corrupting just the system itself? NFL is a shield. It's a business. So how many people are in that business corrupting it from the inside? Kind of like how politics will go as well. You have people on the inside that will corrupt the top because of their own stature, and they feel they can get away with things because they have power. I want to know what Stephen was going to say. I think he was going to respond off the word I'm sorry. Bad, because was it bad or is it opinionated?
Listen, I'll tell you right now, I've seen the Gruden headlines. Yeah. I've not dug down deep into that. But just in general, and it goes back to being connected with people, right? In general, it's easy for us to, when he's not around, I can say something about him to you.
Yeah. Right.
And when he's not around, you can say something about him to me.
Right.
But if we're connected, you're going to be less likely to say that in front of him, you know, or you can be more sensitive to him in that way. So I think going back to the division, it's easy if we can isolate ourselves into camps. It's easy to demonize other people, to say things. It's easy to be the keyboard gangster earlier, keyboard warrior or whatever. You know, it's easy to be brave behind a keyboard whenever there's no real world, you know, repercussions. There's no, you're not responsible to looking somebody in their eye and saying whatever it is that, you know, you're saying on that keyboard. It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. And that goes back to my camps, you know, that connection. Yeah. It's like we humanize each other. We're all over the place. We have different races, different genders, different background, everything. Like there is no filter to come to the camp other than you just know about the camp and you get a ticket if you want to go. Right. Everybody's welcome. Families, parents, kids, you know, just everything. It's just about connection. We're all just people, and we're bonding over a common thing, finances and money and quality of life and time. So why don't we bond over things in real life that matter instead of being divisive in the background over things that shouldn't matter as much as we make it matter.
Right.
You know, it's just unfortunate. So we need to get back to just being human
But
treating each other.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The bottom line is connection. And see, the keyboard has destroyed connection, and it's going to get worse because this is what this young generation is built off of: lack of connection. Think about it.
When we were socially inept now.
When we were growing up, you go to the prom, you go to a dance or whatever.
Skating ring.
You had a connection. You got to get in front of a girl and you have to dance. You have to open your mouth and you have to ask. Now,
you have to remember her number.
Yeah. Now I've gone to a couple of parties where my niece or relative and I had to go pick them up, or I peeked in, and it's just a bunch of kids with lights in their face because everybody's sitting down, on their phone. And you're talking to the person across the other room, or everybody's texting like, yeah, she just texted me. She said she'll be over here like in a couple of minutes. They're just communicating.
You know what that just reminded me of?
What?
Have you seen the movie WALL-E?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all just sitting in their little their little floating recliners, talking to each other. And
lack of connection. Even trying to date, not that connection even to date. Is I'm trying to hook up with you or date you through a web space.
Right. I'm gonna DM you later. Like, just call my phone.
Yeah.
I
got a cousin. He's in high school and he talked to a girl. He's been dating this girl. They hadn't even really met. They've just been talking on Instagram.
But they love each other.
Yeah, but they're young, but it's like
they're puppy love.
Yeah,
but that's the way they do it now. I mean, that's the way people connect now. It's not all bad. I mean,
it's not bad, but it's
right. It's
but
just
it's
the way it is. It is weird. We sound like a bunch of old people talking about like, look at all these kids this way.
We're showing our age, really.
Yeah.
We had
still weird.
We had to dial, phone numbers and hoping that nobody had zeros in the number because it took forever for that rotary thing to go all the way around.
I posted a meme one day. And I posted a picture of an old phone. And I was like, back in the day, we were savages because we answered the phone not knowing who was on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
No call ID.
No call ID, just like taking a chance.
Yeah, do y'all remember when caller ID came out? It was crazy technology.
Yes. It was like,
we can see who this is.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so I'm coming up on a last question or a couple of more questions. Right. But one thing that I just reading your background and just something that I did like that you said. I like one of your statements where you made about reconnecting our community by developing a schedule of city-sponsored events and diverse cultural experiences. Really think that's a good idea. So, just going on with some of the activities, maybe like if they have an activity or 4th of July or something, and, it might always be country music that caters to only pretty much typically to be, I guess, it sounds stereotyped, but to a white audience. What are those diverse cultural experiences that you're referring to? And do you feel that Warner Robins is a reflection of an international city? Wow.
So I'm going to say something that might be like blasphemous. Is Warner Robins has that international city label. It seems to me just a label.
Right.
And that's just from my perspective. I've been here for a long time.
Tell it.
Now, when I say international, based off the label of the city, I mean international as we have a very diverse group of people here.
Because of
do we?
Latinos.
Right.
Small percentage.
Black, white.
But see, I think what he's saying is
we have a large, we have a large Indian community.
Right.
Which is
as a percentage, it's not large.
True.
That's what I mean.
Not
if you say international, I'm thinking multiple countries. Countries
true.
like we have.
Yeah.
Or people with backgrounds that stem from other countries. I guess I should know where this international city label came from, and my guess is it stemmed from the base. And,
of course, military.
Right.
Typically, that's where majority, when we were growing up, that's where majority of your international people came from.
And that's why we were raised with so many different cultures.
Because but from the base. Other than that, it was always black and white. But the base would sprinkle a couple of different other people in.
Right. So to me, to me, it's not an international city. And, you hear candidates say, oh, let's get back to the international city. Let's get back to the international city. Okay. What does that mean? Like, what percentage of international backgrounds qualify a city to be international city? We are, not that white means just all American, but, the city is now like less than 50% white. Mm-hmm. It's about 40% black. So that leaves 10% for people who are not white or black. So to me, that doesn't scream international. Now that's neither here or there. So that was just my little kind of spiel on It's just a label to me.
Right.
It's not substantiated to me by anything. I think one thing that we can do, or things that we can do, is we can encourage more awareness of different cultures that we have here.
Yeah, when I mean, and I mean, just keep it neutral, or like you said, different cultural experiences, and make it more diverse. I'm not saying invite Wu-Tang to the 4th of July parade, but
a little Method Man, a little Red Man,
But that's the problem right there. To keep it 100, the citizens of Warner Robins would not go for that.
Well, a lot of citizens would. This is not the 1980s Warner Robins. This is 2020s.
But we still have a different demographic here that of age group. Once I get what you're saying, but I feel like
I grew up on that music. I'm over 40 years old.
I had a question for that later. I was going to ask you what's in your quote unquote tape deck, even though I know, but you know what I mean by that. But back to what I was saying is, I feel like once this certain demographic age group moves on, I do feel that then we'll be on that same page as far as everybody's into diverse music or whatnot. But I think Warner Robins, like you say, is still led by a certain generation. You know, you still got a lot of old school people here,
right?
Old thinkers,
and that's great.
Things
great, great. We should absolutely do things where they feel welcome.
Yeah, true.
That have the interests that they're interested in, but we can't just hold the rest of the city hostage because a certain group of people doesn't want a non-country band at a 4th of July festival.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't have a country band at the 4th of July festival either.
Right.
That's a big stadium.
Yeah.
Why not have a couple different types of music?
Exactly.
Couple different areas.
That's what I say.
That's what I say. Bring in different type of acts instead of just one act, the same type of act every year.
Right.
Every year.
I'm not
every year.
Every year.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm all for that. And again, like you said, it'll change as people age, as those people who grew up with different influences and different interests are put into these positions, or business owners. They're getting older. Now there can be more people who grew up listening to rap that own businesses, and grew up, people who grew up listening to R&B, who are politicians. These decision makers and people who have influence over how these functions are run. So yeah, it's just
even Latin music.
Yeah,
it'll make everybody feel welcome.
Right. Yeah.
Like you said, even the percentage is small, but
it doesn't mean they're any less important.
Yeah.
Right.
In my eyes, though, I still see a large
Latino community.
Yeah, Latino community. So and as you can see in our city, a lot of our business owners are of a different culture as well. So I just think that'll help bridge that gap and make everybody feel welcomed. Just being specific, so what did you actually mean by that, bringing that diverse cultural experiences?
Well, once we have some city spaces that people feel safe to gather in, we can start having some city-sponsored events.
Yeah.
What that looks like is I would communicate with, again, business owners, community leaders in different communities, see how we can help, see how we can make them feel part of the city.
Right.
And it's not just about having just a country concert, or just a concert, or not even just music. It could be food, music,
festivals,
art, just culture to celebrate it. It's kind of like a pie in the sky thing that people say, oh, we're going to do these events and make it all happen. And then they have this thing in their mind that everybody's just hanging out in the field, listening to some music, eating some food, whatever. And it's kind of like a fair type of thing. But to me, it's like the fair is the only time that you see that sort of setting. But
and that's not really, I wouldn't say, a cultural experience either,
But it's a kind of culture. It's a culture. That's fair food. I mean,
it's fun and everything. But I get what you're saying, because that would be real good. Like McDonough is bringing a lot of culture to their downtown area, where they're having like food trucks and different type of events and art festivals, jazz festivals. See, and I get it. Yeah. This is probably
like a town fair.
Well, it's not progressive, as you would say, but it's supposed to be. But
Houston County is the most progressive county in Georgia. You didn't know that? That's the tagline, right?
Yeah, hit that. Yeah,
that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be a good idea, because, like I say, but we get stuck in our ways here, I believe, because even when we get some type of cultural different restaurants here, they just don't make it. and then they throw up another chicken spot or a barbecue spot. I'm thinking I think we have enough of that. You know, we had a nice Italian restaurant here. Just didn't make it. I don't know why. We had a jazz club here one time. The best jazz club.
Had a New
I don't
Orleans
think I
restaurant.
ever heard of that.
It was a great jazz club, and it stayed open for a while, and I don't know what happened, and it was just something different for the city, and then, of course, it closed, and they turned it into a club.
Yeah. So that's one thing is like we can say that we want this and we want that, but a business has to be sustainable.
Yeah, true.
And, you know, for us sitting around talking, it's a great idea. But when it comes down to it, it's dollars and cents. You know, are the people going to frequent that business enough to where that business can stay in business?
Right.
And if there is demand, but the business is failing, then we'll figure out why. You know, see if we can help that business out. You know?
Probably goes both ways. One, what you said, and two, probably lack of marketing. The marketing wasn't the greatest.
Right.
Marketing is big.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe with just a little bit of organization, we can, I don't know if there's a nonprofit that can be made or if any exists, but, you know, I've thought, you bring this up and it reminds me of something I thought about a month ago is, you know, Commercial Circle. There's a lot of businesses in Commercial Circle.
Yeah.
And until you actually go down there and look, kind of in the back of your mind, you think, oh, it might just be like this rundown place with the hardware store and the sandwich shop and, you know, maybe a couple other places, but you just don't know what. There are a lot of businesses down there. And if there's a way, just for an example, you know, I'm not saying this is something I would do as mayor. This is just me talking, right? If there's a way for somebody to organize at commercialcircle.com or Warner Robins Commercial Circle, whatever, and it just is a directory, an online directory that says these are all the businesses that are here. I think that could go a long way because, you know, we talk every year, probably for the last 20 years, we've been talking about a downtown, quote downtown. Now, I'm not saying Commercial Circle will end up being the downtown if and when Warner Robins actually gets one, but that's the first place to look because that's the main thing that, you know, people think about whenever a downtown Warner Robins. And we'll talk about that more in a minute, hopefully. But that's just something small. When, you know, I was saying earlier, the incremental things you can do, you know, we can help or encourage more marketing for those businesses, because if more people know about the businesses, more people go to those businesses, right? Those businesses will have more money to reinvest in those businesses and in those buildings, and over time, you'll see improvements. You know, I think even just a citizen, for me, outside looking in, you know, I think, oh, there's downtown, there's that Commercial Circle, and you always hear about there are multiple people in town who have plans. Like they've invested money into plans of what they would like to see Commercial Circle look like. But none of that has happened yet. You know, Centerville has built a whole city.
Oh, yeah.
A whole city.
Nice
in the time that it's taken for us to do nothing with Commercial Circle.
Water park and everything, like a little miniature Centennial Park.
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of budget they got?
Yeah. Growing
Well, you
up,
know why they got that budget.
that used to be peach trees out there, right? Peach trees. I remember driving through there. It was peach trees.
Oh, yeah.
The mall. They built the skeleton of the mall, and they sat there for a couple of years before it finished out.
When people look at Commercial Circles, like you talked about earlier, perception. Perception, like my pops taught me, perception is 9/10 of everything. When people see Commercial Circle, they look to the left. What's right down to the left? North Davis Drive. All people see is North Davis Drive, and they know that's not a good area. And they connect that area with Commercial Circle. And I know this from living on that side of town and being in that area for so many years, how people truly feel about that area. Nobody goes to Commercial Circle for anything unless they're going to the Asian market. Maybe that's only because of word of mouth. Somebody says, hey, you need to go down there. Or there's a nice little soul food restaurant that'll probably be there for a good 6 months to a year, and then it'll close down, like BK said, because nothing ever sustains, because people don't go there for the business because of the area that it's in. You got an Ace Hardware that sits down there that nobody even goes to because they don't want to.
Yeah.
You know,
it's also
I use it.
about how it looks.
It's a great business. I like going to Ace Hardware. Whenever Home Depot or Lowe's doesn't have something.
But how many people
Chances
are willing
are
to go
they
down,
will.
all the way down to Watson, towards Commercial Circle, towards North Davis? Because people truly, the true citizens of Warner Robins feel like this. When they go towards that area, they feel, one, it's going to be high police activity. So a lot of people don't feel like dealing with the police. Number two, it's a blighted community. They feel like they might have more of a chance of getting robbed or some type of drug addict or something like that comes up on them. And a lot of bodies have been found dead in that area. You know, these are things that just people just don't talk about openly, but that we as citizens, me and him, we grew up in Warner Robins on the north side of town. So we know exactly what it's like. We still have friends that are there to this day. People don't want to go to that area, period. The reason why Centerville is growing so much is because everybody moved out there. You got the Houston Lake Road. You got going out there towards the 96. And then you have a big-time police presence in Centerville where if you do anything in Centerville, they're getting you. The reason their budget is so high is because they catch so many drug people. And that's just the truth. That's the bottom line of it.
They get everybody.
They get everybody.
You go through Centerville, you're done.
People know in this area, if you go through Centerville, you've been sipping half of a beer. You better just pull over. Just let somebody else drive or something because they going to get you. If you going 2 miles per hour over the speed limit, it's like you on base.
Centerville got that reputation like Henry County.
I used to be security forces in the Air Force. I used to be a cop on the base. So I know how fast, if you're going 2 miles per hour above the speed limit, we have the right to pull you over. Centerville acts the same way. And that's why their budget is the way it is, because people in Centerville, a lack of a better word, they're in line.
You're speaking on a lot of stuff that I don't know. But I will say, you're talking about people not wanting to go to certain areas in town, right? The economics of it is a business is not going to come to town where no one goes.
Right.
It needs to be a good investment for them, right?
But us, well, not us, not me, but you and your constituents, shouldn't y'all be more responsible of trying to build up that area? You keep saying people come in year after year after year with plans to develop that area. But every time they come in, they look at the area that's around where they want to build, and they're like, this looks like crap. That building over there looks like crap. It has a whole restaurant in it, but it looks like crap.
Yeah, there's
a barbershop over there, but it looks like crap. You know, that's what people see.
Well, some of that is not really the city's responsibility, because if you're a business owner and you own that building, and it's up to you to keep the upkeep on it.
I understand that part.
And like we talked about on the last podcast, which you have a lot of slumlords. So you have to make them be responsible, and like you said, we have to be more stronger on code enforcement.
Right, but doesn't that come down to the politicians having to push those people to enforce more?
That's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it.
That's just it.
Put yourself in a business owner's position. No matter how it looks. I mean, it's all connected. But at some point, something's got to come first. You know, chicken or the egg. The customers come first, and then businesses see, this is up and coming. We can, reverse this. Foot traffic's increasing. Business is increasing. Economic activity is increasing. Maybe this is a place I want to invest in. What starts that? People going there. All these people, and I'm one of them, that you're talking about. We have these sort of perceptions and things like that. It might keep us from going to certain places. Now, in more recent years, I do things just because they're uncomfortable on some level. Way, it's because I want to keep disproving maybe biases, and I don't want to fall into, isolation or demonizing or anything like that. So what I do is I push. If it's uncomfortable, I do it. If it's outside of the norm, I try to do it. Somebody's going to have to take the first step. City can absolutely do some things to help out down there, but we can make it look as pretty as you want. If nobody shops there, businesses aren't going to go. But maybe more people will go if we can talk with the business owners and the real estate owners and see if we can do some more uniform type, aesthetically pleasing things with the area, right? And I would venture to say that the more people go down there, the less those negative
ideas,
perceptions that we have will go away. And that goes back to connection. It's so much easier to stay away from it and say, oh, but that's out of town or that part of.
And I mentioned that last week about a lot of it has to do with fear.
Fear. Oh yeah.
One person dies, and first thing you see on social media is like, "Oh, Warner Robins is becoming Macon." Like, no, it's not. But that's that fear that you put into it by saying, "Oh, I wouldn't go down there if I was you because such and such, such and such." Which,
what sells?
And then it just spreads.
You know what sells newspapers? Fear.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh yes.
You know what sells? Advertisement. Fear. News. I don't. Again, growing up, everybody always said, you watch You watch news, you stay informed, you got to know what's going on in the world, whatever. But as you get older, you realize news is a for-profit company.
Yeah.
They want you on their channel.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going towards the end of the podcast, and go back to your question that I was asking you earlier. What is Stephen Baughier listening to? What are you watching right now?
What am I listening to? I think once we get to our age, I don't really listen to a lot of newer music because,
Me
the
either.
themes in
Yeah.
music,
Neither
the themes in music, I think speak more to you at certain ages as you grow.
Yes.
And, or as you mature. And so we kind of attach like life experiences to we have a soundtrack to our life, right? Mm-hmm. And once you've heard songs about money, like what's another song about money? Or not like investing songs, no. You know what I'm talking about. We need more of those.
Yeah.
Somebody needs some of those. But like the subject matter, there's only so much subject matter that is covered on songs. And so once you already sort of have your library built up, it's just another song usually about whatever. So I tend to say all that to say I kind of listen to the older stuff.
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
I'm stuck in
Yeah,
musically. I'm stuck in the 90s, 50s. I listen to a lot of jazz, so I like old school jazz. Miles, Roach, Art Tatum,
Thelonious.
yeah, Thelonious Monk, Art Blakey, a lot of hip hop, old school hip hop, R&B.
Miles
I played
Davis.
saxophone growing up, and so like Charlie Parker.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Bird,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
But no, like I go to the old stuff sometimes when I'll be put in a good mood or something. But let's see, the more current thing that I listen to the most is like August Alsina.
Yeah.
Like I like August Alsina. It's good music. It's smooth to listen to.
Oh, he
Yeah.
was the one in the Entanglement.
Yeah,
right.
You bumped into him.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But I listened to him before I bumped into him. So
Right.
that was kind of a cool encounter.
So what you watching?
What am I watching right now?
Don't say Squid Game.
I was going to say Squid Game.
It was okay. I like
I was
Squid
going to
Game.
say Squid Game.
I like, you know what? It took about 1 or 2 episodes for me to get locked in. But once I was locked in, I was like, okay, I wasn't even really paying attention to the subtitles. I was kind of just enthralled into the action. Because, once you get past red light, green light.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
only the
wrap.
second episode. I just finished the second episode.
So you've seen red light, green light.
I have. So I have kids, and so and I've been very busy, so I don't have time to necessarily sit around and binge.
Yeah.
So I'll watch an episode here or there when I can. But yeah, I had to check and see what that Squid Games was all about.
Did you catch Your Honor?
No.
Oh,
What is Your Honor? Is that the name of a show?
yes.
Gotta watch that.
You need to watch that.
Okay.
Bryan
And-
Cranston, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
Not me neither.
The other thing I like to watch is Walking Dead. I'm trying to keep up with The Walking Dead.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I fell off after like 8.
After like Negan.
Yeah.
Negan.
After the boy died.
You just spoiled it for everyone who's not watched Walking Dead.
Spoiler alert.
The boy died. Actually, we don't know which boy.
Which boy?
We don't know which boy, but the boy died. I know.
we know, though.
When the boy died, I was out.
Is it
Well,
because
everybody-
Loyal up to the end, his end.
But they jumped off ship before that.
Nah.
When the Asian cat died first.
No, it was-
that's when everybody really was up in arms.
I don't know. It was still they still had a lot of
season
loyal fans.
cliffhanger? That's got to be one of the best season cliffhangers of any show right there is like what's going to happen next. Wait until next season and you find out who he chose to end.
Plus, it brings a lot of revenue to the state of Georgia. That's a good thing.
All right, so at the end of each podcast, we like to go ahead and do this thing, 5 words. We'll drop 5 words on you. Steve will ask you 5 words, and the first thing that comes to your head, you just give one word answer.
Yeah, I remember hearing this before.
Yeah,
I
so
know all about it.
do I need to give you an example?
No, we're good.
Okay, all right.
Warner Robins,
Comfortable.
politics,
Messy.
accounting,
Exact.
inclusion,
Needed.
Georgia College and State University.
Education.
All right. Let's give it up for Stephen Baughier. All right, Steve, I really appreciate you coming and joining us on the podcast and, just talking with us. And, we like to have a chill conversation and just a table talk, just to talk about politics and community. So we really appreciate you coming out and joining us. And like I say, anything you want to plug at the very end?
I will say we are currently doing early voting. We have 3 weeks of early voting, 2 Saturdays. Just had the first Saturday.
Right.
So anyway, between now And October 29th, we have early voting at Houston Health Pavilion and the Board of Elections in Perry.
Gotcha.
Houston Health Pavilion behind Checkers over at the corner of Watson and Houston Road. So I voted last week, and it was in and out, 5 minutes. Easy process. There's no reason not to do it. Go ahead and avoid lines, early vote, get out there. Election day, November 2nd. And that's your usual precinct. It's not everyone votes. Not everyone votes on November 2nd at the Houston Health Pavilion. You'll go to your usual precinct. So that's why I say just vote early. Make it simple. Just keep Houston Health Pavilion. That's all you got to know. Just go get it done.
Gotcha. Just a quick question. So if somebody wanted to step up to you and ask you a quick question in a few words, why do you want to run for mayor?
I want to run for mayor because there's an opportunity to make a difference in the future of my kids and the future of the citizens of Warner Robins to create a city that we're all proud of.
All right, you heard it from Stephen Baughier. Vote November 2nd. Pick your candidate. He is running for mayor of Warner Robins, Georgia. So at the end of each podcast, also, we like to go over a book. And I'll give the book of this series, of this podcast. The book I've chosen this time, I would say, man, this is one of the books that kind of changed my life. Several different things have changed my life. Learning how to play chess a long time ago, and also one of these books, which is the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. Whew, dope book. It's about several different things. It's also about one of the things that we talked about on the podcast, which is connection. It's also about there's no such thing as coincidences, and also about spirituality. So just a book I'm recommending to check out. It is called The Celestine Prophecy. I'm your host, BK.
And I'm your host, J. Steve.
Peace.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Soul Fresh Podcast. And to check out more episodes, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube. And in the meantime, until the next time, keep it 100, be blessed.